White letters on a black background say Thriving with Vision Loss with special guest Leighann Fuller. This is a Zoom style interview with Michelle seated on the left with short brown bobbed hair, purple headband, purple shirt, sitting in a black chair with a wood slat wall behind her. Leighann is seated on the right with gray hair, glasses, and a white turtleneck, seated in an office with inspirational sayings on the wall and a brown door. What happens when blind professionals are given the right training, the right technology, and real access to opportunity, not just in theory, but inside complex institutions like universities? Today, I'm joined by Leighann Fuller, the Visually Impaired Services Coordinator at Southern Illinois University in Edwardsville. Leighann brings a rare and important perspective. She supports blind and low vision students from inside a university system, and she also brings lived experience as someone who's navigated vision loss herself. That combination gives her rare insight into what actually works, what breaks down, and where people fall through the cracks. This is Thriving with Vision Loss, an eleVIVO original series sharing real stories, practical tools, and lived wisdom from people building meaningful and thriving lives with blindness or low vision. eleVIVO supports individuals and families navigating vision loss and also works to help agencies, nonprofits, and public systems to do that work more efficiently and at scale. Leighann, it's so good to have you here. How are you doing?
Doing pretty well. Thank you for having me.
I'm great. I've been looking forward to this conversation so much.
Yeah,
Um,
me too.
yeah, we really connected during our chat, and I just think you're one of the coolest people that I've talked to so far.
Oh, thank you so much. Do you say that to everybody?
No, I don't. I don't. But you are one of the coolest. You really are. So you sit at the intersection of lived experience and institutional responsibility. To start off with, can you tell us a little bit about yourself and the work you do as the Visually Impaired Services Coordinator at Southern Illinois University in Edwardsville?
Well, sure. So I guess a little bit about myself is I went to college here as an undergrad student in the late 90s, and got married, had kids, stayed home for a while, and did a few things part-time from home, and worked at the YMCA in member retention, and then saw the opportunity to come back to the university to work in student retention. And I thought, well, hey, I like working for the Y and member retention. I loved SIUE. I was here as an undergrad student and thought, well, I could do student retention. It's kind of the same work, just slightly different goal, and I guess keeping kids engaged in college. I started here in December of 2022. So how I found myself in this position, because before what I was doing was supporting students who were struggling academically, and that can happen for a variety of reasons. Life is falling apart, or I'm away from home and no one's telling me when to go to bed and when to get up and all of that. So just kind of trying to help troubleshoot those kind of issues. But I found myself dealing with a pretty significant vision loss in December of 2023. We at the university, we always get the time off between Christmas and New Year's, and somewhere right before New Year's Eve 2023, I realized, oh, this vision issue that I've been having flare up now and then, like, it's not getting better. The usual treatment is just not helping. And I guess we'll get into a little bit more of the vision loss part of things later, but just through my experience in working with the department I'm now employed in, for my accommodations as an employee and as a student, because I was in my program at the time getting my master's degree. I just got to know my now boss, and he began talking to me about the need to support the students on campus that are blind and visually impaired, and just that the office didn't really have the manpower and the ability to support them like they needed to be. And there were some that were falling through the cracks. So I never would have imagined working in a job like this, but after experiencing vision loss myself and knowing what all I was still capable of after getting the right training, I'm excited to be here and just to see what we can do with this program. So really, this role is brand new to the university. There's really in doing some research, I'm really not finding this role in a lot of universities, but there are blind students that are going to college. So just excited to build the rollout, build the program. And my boss says we're building the plane as we fly it. So not sure what's to come, but I'm here for it and I'm excited about it.
That's great. That is great to be able to mold the program to actually help people, as opposed to trying to use, the program in a box.
Right. There
So,
is no box. There is no manual.
Mhm. Yeah, that's actually my favorite way to work. I don't like boxes. I don't do very well in boxes. I chew my way out. So, what does a typical day look like in that role?
Oh goodness. Uh, that's such a hard question to answer because every day is a little different. And sometimes I get here and I think I know what will happen. And then I have a student come in and, that kind of changes the trajectory of things. But um, right now, things that I work on off and on throughout the day are building relationships with some blind schools. There's one in Jacksonville in Illinois. We're going to be visiting there. We're visiting the Missouri School for the Blind in St. Louis, hoping just to get the word out that, hey, we have dedicated support here. We'd like you to come to the university. Trying to work off and on. I'd like to develop a summer camp program for students to come to campus, check it out. Get some training, adaptive living skills, orientation and mobility, and just to introduce them to the idea of coming to school. But then there's the day to day where I'm getting emails in my inbox from instructors. Hey, could you look at this assignment? For an example, I got one. It was a photo assignment for a class. And so the title of the Word doc was photo assignment instructions. And I'm thinking, oh, great, like this is a visual task, how's this going to go? But I'm reading through it and getting to use the imagination and creativity I feel like I can bring to the role to think of alternatives. And, here are your goals for the assignment. What about these ideas on how to make this applicable to your blind student in your class? And reading through PDFs and telling people how they're broken or not broken. And, going through Word documents, like, okay, these instructions don't make sense to somebody that can't visually see because so many directions for Excel and Word and things like that, they're all visual. So just helping people to see how to adapt things and how to get them to make sense to somebody who's not a sighted person. And like one day I had a student come by and, all of a sudden out of nowhere, I've got a kid crying in my office just because they're having a hard time. And so just really it's just adapting to whatever the needs are for the day. And I had a couple students in here yesterday that needed to vent about some things they were dealing with. And so, there's some element of counseling. And so I'm always giving the disclaimer, I'm not a qualified mental health professional. I'm just a mom and I've lived several decades, so I know a few things.
Mhm. Those are
So
the
just
best
getting,
kind a lot of times.
I don't know. That's why I just like, okay, I feel like, I've got to do the don't try this at home. I'm not a qualified mental health professional, but I'm happy to listen to you. That kind of thing. Helping students with assistive technology. I don't have a certification in assistive technology, but I've kind of become the unofficial JAWS trainer. For anybody watching that doesn't know, that's a screen reader for Windows computers that you can install. It's an acronym. It stands for Job Access with Speech. It's a way for blind and visually impaired people to get back into the workforce after vision loss or to be in the workforce and function as an employee, to be able to operate your computer without being able to see it. So I've kind of become the JAWS trainer and helper for the university. Because it seems people have some familiarity, but unless you have to use it and depend on it, you don't really use it with efficiency. So I've helped students with that. I've helped them figure out how in the world do I get into this OneDrive folder and get it to download to my Mac. So just kind of
To be
anything
honest,
and
I could use
everything.
that help half the time and I'm sighted.
Yeah. So just having to do this kind of crash course and learning how to be blind has given me, I keep saying, I'm trying to learn how to be a really cool blind person.
Hmm.
So just in having to learn all of that, all of those things that I learned over the last few years, I'm able to use in this role off and on day to day. So really a typical day, there kind of isn't one.
Hmm.
Um,
Well,
but
for what it's worth, you are a really cool person.
hey, I'm trying. I keep telling people I'd like to get a guide dog and become a really cool blind person. And some people are like, you are a cool blind person. I'm like, yeah, but if I have a dog, I'd be even cooler.
Everybody's cooler with a dog.
Right, I have to, but I tell people they're great for emotional support, but that's about it. I wouldn't trust
Mhm.
them to guide me anywhere.
Probably to the refrigerator with mine. That's about the
Pretty
only place
much,
she'd
yeah.
she'd take me. So, you've lived with glaucoma since you were a teenager, and you've been blind in one eye for 11 years, and then you said you lost the vision in your left eye in 2023. Plus, you got the full deck with rheumatoid arthritis also. When you think back over your journey through life, what have been some of the toughest moments? What made those really hard for you?
Man, I don't know how long we have here, but I'll try to sum it
As
up a
long
little
as you
bit.
need.
But well, I was diagnosed with the rheumatoid when I was 5 years old, so it's it's funny, I look back and so I don't think I ever really knew what normal was.
Hmm.
Which my current boss will say, what is normal anyway? It's a setting on the dryer. Um,
I like that.
yeah, like, yeah, what is normal? Who wants to be normal? That's no fun. So I was 5, and I just remember in kindergarten being made very aware that I couldn't move the way other people could move. And so have been in rheumatologist offices ever since
Hmm.
I was 5. And I had eye muscle surgery when I was really little. And then when I was diagnosed with the rheumatoid, I was followed by an ophthalmologist for a long time. So just regular eye checkups has just always been a thing. And like you mentioned, when I was 14, I went to the eye doctor and he told me I had glaucoma. And all I knew about glaucoma was I'm going to go blind. So just having to kind of live with that kind of hanging over my head, and I'd have a surgery and then my pressure would be managed, and then I'd have another surgery and it's like, okay, now my pressure's managed, okay. And but just glaucoma causes, just for people that don't know, it causes visual field loss. So the peripheral vision is what goes first. So kind of my right eye developed faster than my left, which is why I lost vision than I first. But just knowing, you're 14 and you're sitting there and it's like, am I going to be able to meet somebody and get married and see my wedding and have children? Am I going to be able to see my children when I have them? And, what kind of life am I going to have? But I think I was able to kind of just put that in the back of my mind because we were able to manage my disease for so long. But just going through periods of a lot of pain and having orthopedic surgeries and having eye surgeries and all of that, and just trying to keep pushing forward and building the life that I wanted to have despite all of that. And I'd have a doctor's appointment and then I'd be scared for a while again, but then it's like, okay, let's move forward and keep going. But then hitting that point in December of 2023 when I realized, okay, I'm doing the kind of at-home directions if my vision gets blurry and things flare up again, and I'm doing the steroids like the doctor said to do when that happens, and it's not working. And kind of this moment of what do I do now? Like, what now? And I can remember going to the eye doctor. It was right after New Year's Day 2024, like the office opened and here I am, like first thing in the morning. And the doctor examines me and he said, yeah, the corneal swelling is really bad again. He said, I'm not seeing eye inflammation, because I'd have flare-ups of inflammation. I'd have flare-ups of the corneal swelling. We would hit it with steroids and it would go away. And I think, okay, I'm not blind, we can move
Hmm.
on with life. But I'm sitting there in the doctor's office that day and I'm like, I'm doing the steroids 3 times a day, like you said. And he sat down and I heard him sigh. And I said, so am I legally blind? And I knew the answer.
Hmm.
And he just took a deep breath and he said, yeah, you are. And so then I'm left thinking, well, what now?
Hmm.
What do I do now? And so I spent a few weeks crying for hours at a time.
Hmm. Understandable. And that's kind of what
And
eleVIVO does, is try to get to people when they're at that point where, okay, there is something we can do when the ophthalmologist says there's nothing more we can do. There really is.
yeah, I mean, I want to be honest about it because I think that's kind of what people want when
Hmm.
they're dealing with vision loss. It's like, am I feeling what I'm feeling has anybody felt like that? And so as I'm crying and just praying for hours, my poor kids, I just think back, I would just shut the door and I'm sure they could still hear me, but I'm like, okay, God, like what is the point of all of this? What do I do now? And I can remember saying, if you would just like, Michelle, I didn't want to die. I really didn't, but I didn't know what to do. So I remember saying, could you just take this decision out of my hands and just let me pass and let me not have to figure out what to do?
I've
And
heard that a lot, actually. It's
it's like I kind of prayed that way for a few weeks, like just take this decision out of my hands and just let me die. And then one day it was like a switch flipped. And I thought, my kids need a functional parent,
Mhm.
because kind of the side thing going on before all of this went down in December was I was separated from my now ex-husband. And it hit me all of a sudden.
That's a lot to deal with.
It was. I look back over the last 2 years, it's like, man, I survived a lot.
You're a very strong
Um,
person.
well. my faith and the support that I have from family and friends has definitely made all the difference. But, I realized my kids need a functional parent, and that's me. And now I have to figure out, what does that look like? What do I do? And like, I didn't want to give up on my job. I love working at the university, loved my previous role, loved my current role, loved the master's degree program I was in. But I thought, is everything over? Is my life over? So I picked up the phone and I called a student that's here as a grad student. I've known her since she was a little kid from church. And I called her, and here's this, she's been blind since she was born. And I felt terrible telling her, I think my life is over. But that's what I told her. Like, I think my life's over. And she said, well, I've never had vision, so I don't understand that side of things. I don't understand that loss, but it's a loss. And so there's grief, and it's okay that you're sad, but I can tell you your life isn't over. And so from there, I called our accessibility department at work, and I'm like, hey, so here's what's going on. And they had no idea. I just never came back from Christmas break. I had filed for FMLA and just thought, well, I'm going to ride out this FMLA and then I'll have cornea surgery and then I'll come back when everything's better. But that wasn't an option. I just, for various factors, I couldn't have the surgery for a little while. And I still haven't. I'm not sure that I'm going to, which is a whole other side quest on this main quest that I'm trying to get to the end of. So in talking to the accessibility department, she said, do not quit your job. Do not drop out of your program. We have to accommodate you. There are reasonable accommodations we can put into place. Don't give up. We're here. We're going to support you. And so to make a long story a little longer, after about a month, like, I learned how to use a screen reader in a couple weeks. I'd never used one before. I had never used a Mac, but that was what this friend of mine could teach me. So I went out and bought a Mac, and nobody in the store could help me use it. And I rode home with my mom, just crying the whole way. Like, I just bought an $1,800 paperweight. That's fabulous. But I was able to learn how to use the Mac. I was back at work, working from home first couple weeks, which was good because I cried every single day because everything was so much harder. But I look back now and I'm really thankful for that support, my willingness to reach out to her and admit, I think my life is over. When I got back to work on campus, I got put in touch with my friend Jackie from a Center for Independent Living, and she's been blind since she was born, and she was able to help me out with some things. And then she connected me with the Department of Rehabilitation, and the floodgates just opened at that point with the amount of resources and support that I could access. And this is feeling like that job interview, like where you get rambling and you forget the original question. So I hope I
You're
answered
good.
your
Actually, you're answering the question really well, so you're good to go. Now, to kind of change lanes a little bit, on the flip side, what are some moments that stand out as times you felt really proud of yourself, or maybe even a little surprised about what you could do?
It's kind of funny. I had never used a Mac computer in my life. I was familiar with iPhone and voiceover on the iPhone, but just realizing that in a couple weeks, I not only learned how to use a screen reader, but I learned how to use a completely different operating system because that was what somebody I was connected with could teach me. So the vision loss happened, like I said, right around New Year's Eve, 2023. But I was set to start my first course in the spring, mid-January. So I had reached out to that instructor, and she said, hey, please don't give up. Please go ahead and start the class. I'll work with you. We had to meet on Zoom. So just I'm brand new. I told my friend, I'm like, I'm a voiceover baby. Like, I just learned how to do this. So I'm on the iPad and I'm on this Zoom, and I'm like, I can't see anything, but I joined this class, and they gave me the option to dictate or to do audio files for my papers. And I'm like, no, I want to learn how to professionally communicate. So I'm going to type all these things. It's funny. I went back later and looked at some of that stuff, and I'm like, oh my gosh, this was horrendous. But I was just, I look back and it's like, here I am brand new to this vision loss, but I'm in this class and I'm part of this discussion, and I'm doing this thing. And I had so many reasons to give up, but I didn't, because I wanted to finish the program and I wanted to get back to work and I wanted to advance my career. So just I tell people I didn't have a choice, but what the response I often get is, well, you did have a choice. You could have given up. You
Yeah.
could have said, this is too hard. I'm not going to do this. And so many people would have understood that.
Hmm.
But that wasn't the life that I wanted for myself. So, I mean, that's definitely a moment I'm proud of. Walking across the stage to get my master's degree, a little less than a year after all this started, that
That's
was a pretty proud
amazing.
moment too.
Just to be able to get all that done in the middle of a divorce and vision
Yeah.
loss and having kids and wow, you're my hero.
Oh, it's kind of funny talking about it now because I'm like, man, all that really happened. Like,
Well, when you're in the middle of the storm, all you can do is take one foot, it's move it forward a little bit and then the next one and then the next one and just keep going forward somehow.
and I've thanked all the people that have helped me and worked with me, and they keep saying, well, you're the one that did the hard work, but
Mhm.
without having those resources and then at some point I'm like, I need to learn how to use a Windows computer again. So then I was able to get a Windows computer with JAWS loaded on it, the screen reader from vocational rehabilitation, and access training for that. And then I learned that over the summer. And just I've always had a big capacity for being able to learn new things, but I had no idea that I could be capable of learning all of these skills as well. And just, I don't know. It's just crazy.
Well, you are truly an inspiration. You really are.
It's funny.
At
I have a
least to
love-hate
me.
relationship with that word
Yeah, well, I
because,
understand that actually.
well, people will use it in terms of just basic normal things like I'm at work. You're such an inspiration. What? Because I have a job, you know? So it's like I get it, and like I realize all the things I was able to learn and do in a short amount of time. That is inspiring to a lot of
Mhm.
people. But at the same time, there's this feeling of, can we just somehow see individuals with disabilities as people? We're
Mhm.
just people. And we're just trying to be people in the world and to do do normal things that
Mhm.
people do. But that is inspiring to so many people. So it's like I hear that word and I laugh. It's
Mhm.
funny. I feel terrible sometimes for laughing
Oh, you shouldn't.
because I was in my group meeting with my community group at church, and my friend and I went to Poland about a year ago.
Mhm.
We both converse with young ladies from Ukraine that are living in Warsaw because they're working on English proficiency. They're very proficient, but they just want to work with a native speaker and
Mhm.
learn idioms and different things and work on pronunciation. And so we were able to fly over there and meet them.
Oh,
And so in
wow.
that
That's cool.
context, it was a neat experience. So flew back actually totally by myself. It was terrifying and great all at once. But I remember we were talking about our trip with our group, and this guy Matt in my group says, Leighann, you're such an inspiration. And my friend who went to Poland with me, we bust out laughing. He goes, what? I mean it. Like, you're inspiring. And I'm like, no, I just have a love-hate relationship with that word because people will throw that word around when
Mhm.
I'm at work and I have a full-time job. You're inspiring because I put on clothes and went to work. What?
Or some days that is a challenge
Well, yeah,
for
it can
everybody,
be. Yeah, yeah,
for
yeah, for
all of us,
sure. But
especially before that
but
first cup of coffee.
exactly. Yeah, the coffee does definitely help.
It
But,
does.
in talking about this with you and thinking about everything that's happened in the last few years, I'm like, okay, I'll take you're an inspiration. I'll take it. I guess it does apply.
Good. Gold star for you. So, now I've got to ask you my favorite question. Outside of your work and your responsibilities and all of that, what makes your heart sing? What do you do for fun? What brings you joy in life?
Um, wow. Why did my mind just go blank?
That's okay.
Um, I mean, I do. There's a lot of things that I enjoy. But the first thing that popped into my mind is conversations like this, talking about dealing with adversity, dealing with difficult situations and overcoming things that people think are impossible and doing hard things. And, that I don't know, that's something I really enjoy. But I like exercising. That was something I thought I was going to lose. Going back to the gym, that was another place where I've been told you're an inspiration. And I'm just like, because I'm working out, like, okay.
It's like
I
my eyes
love
don't work.
that. I love music. I love singing. I was able to get back to singing with the worship team at church.
Oh, great.
I love music. So it was great to get back to that.
That's even more
Um,
inspiring to me, actually, because I can't carry a tune in a bucket. It's really bad. I sing
yeah, so
enthusiastically.
make a joyful noise, I guess. But yeah,
It
so
sounds
getting
like a
back to that
screaming
was
cat.
what was that?
That yeah, the joyful noise that sounds like a screaming cat.
You know, and it's funny. There's actually three of us at church that are blind that play instruments and sing. I only sing. One of the other individuals that's blind, he plays the violin, and then my good friend, she sings and plays the guitar. But it's kind of funny. It's the Sunday I made the joke. How many blind people does it take to make up a worship team? Oh, this week the answer's three.
Oh, I love it. That's great.
It's like, and it's funny. It's like I'll make the jokes sometimes because I learn very fast. People are really freaked out by blindness, and it's people don't know what to do with us. And so I try to take the lead and, hey, I'm just a person and I just navigate life in a different way. And it's not a big deal, but before I went through this, it was like, oh my goodness, like how do blind people live and how do they do things and how do they have a good life? And it's like, it's not a big deal. It's not really that hard. I mean, it is hard, but yet it's also not that hard, and we're just people.
It's also one of the greatest fears people have. General
It
Pollock,
really
who
is.
founded eleVIVO, um, when she was learning to give congressional testimony, she was actually the first female and first non-physician Surgeon General of the Army. She's all that. But she said that one of the things that she did was she was learning how to give congressional testimony before she was confirmed because she was thinking that probably they were going to come after her a bit because she was the first woman. And she said one of the senators, Senator Inouye, asked the other surgeons general, what are you doing for blinded troopers? And they said, oh, it's not a problem. And she said he looked like he'd been slapped. So she went back and did had her research team do some research and found out that veterans with vision impairment actually have a higher suicide rate than any other disability, including, PTSD, including paralyzation, including losing limbs, because people are so afraid of vision loss.
The
It's just
world's
one of those
really,
terrors.
yeah, it's like the world's really not made for people that can't access it visually. I
Mhm.
found that out pretty fast.
But you still access it and do a really good job of it.
Oh man, it's an adventure. It's just, yeah, it was so weird coming back to work after the vision loss. I felt like to people who knew me, I was still really capable and intelligent and all of that. And I know I'm all of those things, but to people who didn't know me, it's like, oh, it's a blind lady. I remember I did my first 5K after the vision loss with Achilles International, and my daughter and I went to Walmart afterwards. And so I've got my tank top on and my workout pants and my running shoes, but I've got my white cane. And I asked my daughter, I'm like, do people like look at me a lot? She goes, yeah, it's really annoying too. And I'm like, dang, it's like here I am and I'm in this tank top and I'm in these workout pants and I'm fit and I'm active and all of that. But I felt like all people who didn't know me saw was, oh my God, blind, white cane,
Yeah. Yeah. And
It's
there's
just
that whole
kind of
stigma
weird.
that if your eyes don't work, your brain doesn't work
And your legs.
or
Like,
anything
oh, should I
else.
park close? And I'm like, no, my legs are just fine. It's just my eyes don't work.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. So you've talked about your background in kinesiology and exercise and sports motivation. How have those experiences, shaped the way that you understood your body and resilience?
Yeah, so I don't know if I mentioned this to you or not when we talked before, but I had weight loss surgery in 2021, and I was 336 pounds when I had surgery, and I was kind of at the point where I just that it's like that was another one of those moments in my life where it hit me. I'm like, I am 44 years old, and if this is the best I'm ever going to feel, I'm not here for that. So I need to do something. So I had the weight loss surgery, but I knew I wanted to do it the right way. I wanted to use that as a tool, and so that's when I got interested in exercise and everything. But realizing if I could be 336 pounds and I could lose half of my body weight and have a completely different life after that, That was one of those experiences I looked back on when this happened. It's like, okay, I did that and I thought that was impossible. So if I could get through that thing that and it's funny when you tell people you're having weight loss surgery. Oh, I know this person that it didn't work for. I know that person that didn't work for. And I actually ended up telling my mom, don't tell me any more of those stories. I don't want to hear any more of those stories because I know the odds are against me. So when this came up, it was like, and I think that's another thing, that I learned in my program. In my graduate program was you've got to look back on those past wins and those experiences and remind yourself, I went through this difficult thing and I was able to overcome that. So now I'm here and I'm facing this new challenge. So what can I draw on from that past experience? Going back to the support, leaning on my faith and on all of the things that got me through that previous difficult thing to apply that to this new experience.
And there's a song lyric that I go back to every time I get in that place. And it's actually from Joe Walsh from the Eagles. And it's the times I thought it was the end of the world didn't turn out so bad after all. And when I'm in the middle of it, it's like, remember that. Remember that. Keep going forward. You got this. And it does work. It does work. So one of the things that I've heard many, many times when I'm interviewing people is that they've gone through or are still going through phases of grief while they're losing their sight. Anger, denial, depression, all of that. So how did you move forward during those stages while still balancing those, the anger and the grief?
It's kind of funny. I don't really think I had a lot of time to think about it at first because it's like I have to be a functional parent and I have to go back to work and I have to finish this program because I still want a good life for myself despite all of this. And I don't think I really could think about it for a long time. I graduated and then it was like, oh, I'm blind and I'm divorced and like, what now?
Mm-hmm.
So I think it realizing that it was okay to feel sad and it's okay to grieve and it's okay to cry and to wish things were like they used to be. And but still realizing, I can have a good life and I can have this job that I really love and I'm passionate about and I can have interests and friends and things like that. And I can have good things in my life, but it's okay for me to feel sad, and it's okay for me to kind of go back to that place. Like some days I'll run into an accessibility challenge, and it's like, dang it, if I could see, this would have been done already. And in those moments, saying, I am intelligent, I am capable, I just can't see. It's there's nothing wrong with me, I just can't see. So having that moment of I'm going to throw this pity party and I'm going to have this moment where I'm frustrated, but I don't ever want to go back to living life as a bitter and unhappy and miserable person because I've been there, I've done that. I don't ever want to do that again. And, like giving myself permission, I can be human, I can be sad, I can grieve, but it's like, okay, now I need to pick myself up and move on. So now what can I do to overcome this barrier?
That makes sense. All right. So acceptance can show up in different parts of life, in work, in relationships, and how you see yourself. As you navigated vision loss and the way others respond to you, how did acceptance shape the choices you made, especially when you're learning to move forward without internalizing someone else's fears and someone else's limitations?
Yeah, and I don't know. I learned a lot through going through this, and I'm hoping I address this question and all of this. But um, one thing I learned was, individuals with disabilities, we're just people, and we want the same things anybody who's quote unquote normal wants out of life. To have a good life, to have someone to share it with, to have a job, to have purpose, to have friends, and enjoy times with family. And it's funny. One of the experiences I had, so I had mentioned Achilles International in the 5K earlier, and I got put in touch with somebody who's a guide runner for the organization. Really cool organization. If you are watching this and you are an active person, you like running, look up Achilles International and get involved with the chapter because, people that are blind and visually impaired, if they're active, they want to stay active and they want to keep doing some of those things that they used to do before. But I got in touch with this guy, Ryan, and he's a guide runner with Achilles. And he said something to me that I've gone back to so many times, and I don't even know if he realizes how significant it was. And I want to make sure I send him a link to this video because what he said meant so much to me in that moment. So I'm on the phone with him. He goes, Leighann, and I'll just quote him. He said, Leighann, one thing I learned really fast in working with people that are blind and visually impaired is he's like, Leighann, you're the same damn person that you always were. You're the same person. You're capable of all the same things. You just have to do them differently. And I hung up the phone and I just cried because I'm like, I am the same person I used to be. I just have to figure out a path forward and how to do all those things that I want to do. So acceptance with the physical activity side of things looked like, even though I'm a certified personal trainer, I hired a personal trainer because I wanted help thinking, how do I do things now? Like, can I go to a certain area of the gym and do a whole bunch of things in this one area safely, but still accomplish all the things that I want to do? So just having to look at different parts of my life and the things that I wanted to do and how do I do them now? It's funny. It's like I talk to people that are trying to date and it's dating sucks for everybody. Oh man. I tell all my married friends, Michelle, just stay married because it is not fun out here.
Yeah,
But
I remember back in my dating days, yeah, I had a couple winners. It's like, oof.
it is not a good time. So, I put my profile out on the dating apps and I thought, well, I don't want to mention that I'm blind or visually impaired because I don't want to get taken advantage of, or I don't want someone to think, oh, well, she's blind, so she'll put up with crap. So I didn't at first. And I remember I connected with this guy that was really physically active and he was a runner and he worked out. And I'm like, oh, this is great. And we had a lot of things in common otherwise. And so we exchanged messages back and forth. And he said, hey, let's meet for coffee. And I'm like, okay, cool. This is great. I was like, hey, can we talk on the phone before we meet up? Because I thought, I don't just want to like pull up with this white cane. And then the other side of things is I'm not going to be able to find him. So he's going to have to look for me. So we get on the phone and we're having this really great conversation. And I said, hey, the reason I wanted to talk to you on the phone is I'm blind. And it's not all there is to me. There's everything we've talked about, all these conversations we've had, all of that is true. It's just I'm blind. And so it's not everything, but it's part of my life and it's part of who I am. And I navigate with a white cane and all of that. And he goes, oh, and we had had this conversation and even after I said that, he said, I'm a cancer survivor and, I've been through a lot with my health and we've all got our stuff. And I'm thinking, this is great. He's not freaking out. And then he goes, well, we can text each other. And I said, I'd still love to meet you for coffee, even if we walk away as friends, that's cool. And he goes, well, I don't want to be weird about it, but I need to think about this. And I went, what?
Say what?
And I'm like, well, and I
Dodged a
said, oh,
bullet
okay.
there.
So I get off the phone and I'm like, I don't need to think about this. And I just blocked his number because
Mhm.
I'm, in going through the divorce and being in a relationship with somebody who has an addiction and all the crap that goes with that. It's like, I don't ever want to be in a position where I'm trying to beg someone to see that I'm worth it anymore. And I thought, I don't need to think about this, sir. If you think I'm not worth it because I'm blind, okay,
Yeah.
I'm gonna
You
have
do
to
you,
move
babe.
on. But I'm not gonna lie, that sucked because that was my first introduction to some people are only going to see that you're blind and they don't care about anything else.
And that's been brought
And
up to me by several different people that I've interviewed that that's such a challenge.
it is. So I went ahead and now I put in there in my profile that I'm blind. And so I didn't say blind that I had a visual impairment or whatever, but I don't let it limit me, something like that. And so I had matched with a guy, I guess about almost a year ago now. And his late wife was legally blind before she passed away. And I'm like, okay, cool. Like he gets it. And so, we dated for a little while. But what I started to realize over time is he seemed to be almost proud of the fact that he's like, I'm with this person who's blind and, I'm doing such a great thing. And I think he liked me as a person and, we got along really well in a lot of ways, but there were things that he said along the way that made me realize Like he said, oh, I was telling my aunt that I'm dating someone who's blind, and she said, you always did like taking care of people. And I'm like, wait, hold up. Like, I don't
Yo.
need anybody to take care of me. I just can't see. Like, do I need a driver? Yes. I live with my two kids. It's just me.
Mhm.
They're adults, but I'm the adultier adult, I guess, of the crew. But it's funny. I'm like, I still feel like I need supervision, but I'm almost 49. And I was like, told him, I'm like, you told her I don't need a caregiver, right? And he goes, oh, well, yeah, she just doesn't know you like I do. But some other things kind of came out in the relationship. And I found myself telling myself, well, he's willing to put up with me
Mhm.
and he's willing to put up with the blindness. And I'm like, wait a minute. I'm going back to where I kind of was before when I was fully sighted, where I don't have to put up with this crap. Like, it's like I don't want to be with somebody who needs to be convinced that I'm worth it and convinced that I have value and all of that. And while it wasn't about the blindness before with my ex-husband, it's like I don't want to be in a relationship where I feel like I just gotta put up with stuff that really are things that are really deal breakers. I don't want to get into all of that. Just because
Yeah,
I'm
I get it.
blind, it doesn't mean I want to settle.
And too many women just in general tend to settle. And
Yeah.
it's kind of
And it's
sad
like
because
I didn't want that to be my kids
yeah,
are both single, and it's like I didn't want that to be the example for my kids that you just
yeah,
settle and put up with crap just because you want to be with somebody.
yeah, that makes perfect sense to me. It really does. So how does your perspective, as a blind woman help you to support your students and others that are navigating vision loss?
Yeah, I mean I feel like I'm in this really unique position with the students that I serve of saying I get it. I understand. And that was one thing, in talking with before he was my boss, he said, I want somebody in this office that when the visually impaired and blind students sit down, they don't have to explain anything. There's just that immediate understanding of how you navigate life.
Mhm.
And so I feel like, and because I could access everything as a sighted person before, not only do I feel like I have this understanding, immediate understanding with my students, in talking with faculty, I can say, hey, here is how I did things as a student before, and here is how I had to do things after. And here are the challenges these students are facing. They are capable, they just have to go about it a different way. And it's going to take a little bit longer for them to do things. But they can still do all of these things. So, I've had faculty sitting here next to me in my office going through a document. They're like, wow, I had no idea what it was like to access things with a screen reader. And I just didn't have that understanding. So I feel like I can understand. I've got a foot in both worlds,
Mhm.
the sighted world, the blind world, and just being able to bring that understanding to my students, to faculty, to other staff.
You can be the
Um,
bridge.
yeah, it's a really neat position to be in, and it's yeah, I just remember in those desperate moments of praying, like, God, just like take me to heaven because I don't want to have to figure this out.
Mhm.
But when I hit that turning point, it was okay. If I have to walk through this, if this is my life from now on, I need there to be some kind of a purpose. So
Mhm.
I feel like every day I see that purpose, even the frustrating days, I see, that I have a purpose and there are things that I can do that other people can't just because of the experiences that I've had.
That makes sense. So when you're working with people, where do you see the biggest gaps where those people, the places where they kind of fall through the cracks?
Um, I remember early on in this new role telling one of my coworkers, I don't know how you did this before because I have so much to do. And he goes, we kind of didn't. He said we didn't have the dedicated support to offer these students and the understanding that you have. And he said, they're telling you things they wouldn't tell me because you understand so many things about what they're going through. And then the other thing, I'm seeing gaps in the knowledge of assistive technology and screen reader navigation. Some of the students, they're coming out of blind schools and they don't have the proficiency that I have with the screen reader. I learned how to use JAWS from somebody that's completely and totally blind. And some of the assistive technology professionals, they have the knowledge, but they're sighted people, so they don't have to navigate with proficiency. So being able to add that piece of, hey, do you know this shortcut? Do you know that shortcut? So being able to share those things with students, so I've seen a few gaps there just with, they can use JAWS, they can navigate the internet, they can navigate Microsoft products, but they're not doing it with the efficiency that they could. So I'm able to fill in those gaps. And also just, the gaps of talking to faculty as somebody who is blind. I had a faculty member in here who had been resistant in the past and given the office a little bit of trouble. And, he has a good heart. He comes from a good place, but what he expressed to me was, I don't want to let these students down, just that fear of letting them down. And I told him right off, like, I'm blind. Because I wanted to start that conversation from a place of, you are talking to someone who is blind. So please understand, I am capable, I'm intelligent, and so are these students. There's just some basic things that you need to do so they feel included in your classroom. And, I just, there are gaps, but it's just neat to be able to fill those in. And I'll tell students, I'm a baby blind person. I'm like, well, maybe I'm a toddler or preschooler now. I've been in this for a few years. There's a lot of things I don't know, but there's a lot of things that I do know and understand that even people that have always been blind don't, because they don't have the experience of being sighted and don't understand what's important to a sighted person in the world. And so being able to fill in that gap too for some of the students, just thinking about employment and interviewing and, being able to talk to them about, here's the things that are important when you go on job interviews and things like that I understand.
That gives you a really unique perspective on it.
Yeah, I don't know, it's just an interesting place to be in, and understanding, what is the sighted world like, and learning now about the blind world as somebody who's blind and navigating life this way. It's a really interesting place to be in.
Oh, cool. So would you say a lot of your work is about emotional support and helping people navigate the challenges and not just handling the accommodations on paper?
Yeah, there's definitely, like I've got a new student this semester and he struggled quite a bit. And one day he said, I just needed to talk to you because he said, I told myself she's blind, she understands. And I'm like, yeah, when I came back to work, I was on this campus in the 90s as an undergrad student. And then I came to work here in December 2022. So I've seen the campus, but coming back to work was terrifying. Like I was scared to do anything. Like I was scared to go anywhere. Like I had been a member at my YMCA for years and worked there and knew my way around. I was terrified to go back and work out. Like what if I hurt myself? What if I trip over something and whatever? So being able to tell him, yeah, I did stuff every day that scared me to death, but if you don't do that, you're not going to be able to live and have the things that you want in life. So it's just something you're going to have to do. So, he knows, coming from me as somebody who's blind, he's like, she gets it, she understands. And then I've had another student that's very frustrated. She's a Mac user, and so going to JAWS, just, this is so frustrating. If I had the Mac, I could just do it right away. I'm like, I get it. I learned how to use JAWS, but I can tell you, you can do this with proficiency, with practice. So that been there, done that, and emotional support. And yeah, the accommodations on paper, getting them double time on tests because they use screen readers, or getting them accessible materials in class. Yeah, there is all that paperwork too, but there is a lot of emotional support with it, because when you're navigating life with a disability, there's so many people that don't understand. And I'm learning that people want to help. Sometimes they just don't know how. And so sometimes that leads to a paralysis on their part where they do nothing. So I'm trying to get students to understand, it's not necessarily the people that don't care. They just don't know what to do. They don't know what to ask. They don't know if it's okay to ask you what you need, or should I ask them if they need help? And, so there is a lot of emotional support that goes along with it.
Before I had a lot of blind friends, I had a little bit of that myself, just with, now what do I do? And you're almost afraid to say something because you're afraid that you're going to be wrong. And, now I have a bunch of blind friends that are actually some of the most intelligent, cool people I've ever met. And I've realized that they're just people like me, and if I screw up, they're going to tell me. Like Scotty Joffrey, he runs the Blind Striker YouTube channel, and he's become a really good friend. He does all my tech testing. Like he actually does the eleVIVO platform testing. And he also he watches all my videos. He gets first crack at them and says, okay, that sucks. Try again. Spin again. Like, okay, sorry. Or why did you do it that way? That's just dumb. Don't do that. Like, okay. He's 22. So the 22-year-old is telling me what a fool I am sometimes, but he's right. So I just go along with it and make the adjustments that he tells me I need to make. And I'm getting better. And that's what we can do.
Yeah, I mean, if somebody's watching this and they've never been around a blind person, or they're newly dealing with a family member or a loved one that has vision loss, it's, ask questions, like I've told people, there's ways to ask questions. Like I've been asked can I ask how blind are you? I'm like, that's a little offensive, but hey, what exactly can you see? I don't mind answering that question. It's not
Yeah.
offensive because I'd rather you know what I can and can't see than to assume I see nothing. Because one thing I learned, there's an assumption if someone says they're blind, oh, you see nothing. It's like, no, I kind of see, but I kind of don't. I
Hmm.
saw a shirt that said, I can see, but I can't. Hashtag it's complicated. And I'm like, I need that shirt
Yeah.
because I
Yeah.
can sort of see, but I can't.
Yep. I get that.
It's like
So,
ask if people need help. Don't
okay.
assume help is needed, but ask, would you like assistance?
Yep.
Or how can I assist you if you need assistance?
And
And
what can they say? No, you know?
yeah, and if
Yeah.
somebody says no, don't be offended.
Yeah.
It's people that are blind that have been at it a while, they've had a lot of orientation and mobility training to learn how to get around even in new environments and how to figure things out. And it's like one of my really good friends, she says, sometimes I feel bad, like I'm so hands off, and people like when we went to Poland, like our Ukrainian students just wanted to help me, and they're very sweet. They're young ladies in their early 20s and early to mid 20s. And my friend's like, I feel like they think I'm terrible. And I'm like, no, I'm glad that you're hands off. You're okay with seeing me struggle because I'm going to figure it out. But I know you're always willing to help if I need it.
Hmm. Yep. That's what friends are for.
Yeah.
That is what friends are for. So if someone's watching, and they're just starting to lose their vision and they're feeling overwhelmed and scared, what's something that you wish someone had told you back then when you were going through that?
Yeah. I mean, I guess somebody did tell me what I needed to hear. Your life's not over.
Mhm.
Um, I mean, I do hope I can find somebody to spend the rest of my life with. Sometimes I think that's never going to happen, but even if it doesn't, you can have a good life. You can have a good job. You can do the things that you enjoy. You just have to figure out how to do them a little bit differently. And it's okay to be sad. It's okay to grieve. But your life doesn't have to be over just because you can't see. There are resources. There are people who want to help. I mean, I've learned there are a lot of really good people in the world that want to help and want to see you have a good experience and reach out. And I'm in a blind support group of people in my area, people that are under 55, and a couple of the people have always been blind. Some of the people had vision loss later in life, but we all have that commonality, and we're all trying to just have a good life. And some of us are employed, some of us are looking for employment, but that's there's just a lot out there. And it's funny, I tell people, if you're going to go blind, now's a great time because there's so much great technology out there. No, I mean, it's not to make light of it. It's not that it's not hard, but there are just so many good things out there to help you live the life that you want.
There's more opportunity now than there was, back, even like in the 80s, late 70s and
Yeah.
80s. There's just so much more out there now, and technology is so cool. I mean, some of the stuff they can do is just amazing.
Yes.
So, since you've been on both sides, receiving services and now providing them, what's one thing you'd want the universities, the agencies, or the organizations to know about truly supporting blind and low vision people?
Um, have high expectations for people. It's, just because someone's blind, it doesn't mean that they're not capable of all the same things that you are. I was actually told we have a STEM center on campus, and there's a gentleman who's in his early 70s. He's blind and he volunteers there. And he was telling me about a program at a university. There's a postdoctoral fellow who's blind. He's a blind chemist.
Mhm.
Anything is possible with the right tools and the right information, and things are made accessible. And um, just I guess don't limit somebody because they're blind. I've heard of blind attorneys. I know a blind software engineer. It's if in blind therapists. It's you think of a career, there's probably someone doing it. Maybe not pilot or air traffic controller, um, but just about anything else, there's probably
Yeah.
someone who's blind that's doing it. It's not really about what can you do because you're blind. It's what do you want to do, and now what accommodations and what things can we put into place so you can do the thing that you want to do.
I just
It's
put
an
up a
approach.
video a couple weeks ago of a blind hockey player. He plays ice hockey blind. It's like, wow. And he has one friend, I guess, that plays that is completely blind, as in 100%
Mhm.
on both eyes. He's got like a straw that he sees through on one eye. and that's about
Right.
all he's got. But it's amazing. He gave me video, and watching them play, it's like, you know what? They play better than some of the Bantam teams I've known. It's pretty impressive.
Yeah, there's a whole world of adaptive sports out there, things that I never knew existed.
Yeah, it's incredible. So as you look at the work you're doing now, what feels the most meaningful to you?
I think one of the most meaningful things, like I had a student so when I first started, my goal was to meet with all the students. Some of them I knew, some of them I didn't. It's kind of funny, the stereotype of, oh, you're blind, you must know every blind person. Yeah, kind of in the state of Illinois, if you don't know them, you know someone who does. There's just a degree or two of separation. But so I had this young man in my office, he's low vision. And he said, it means so much to me that there's representation in this office. Like we have an employee in this office who's hard of hearing, and I'm blind, and he said, we just need more people with disabilities out in the workforce representing. And he said it's just an encouragement to me to know there's somebody here who understands, like I can come and talk to you. And he had kind of lost trust in the office, not because anyone in the office did anything wrong, but it was just things that fell through the cracks because there's just never enough staff to really provide. But now we have staff to provide the support for our blind and low vision students. And it's just that representation and the ability to be someone that's has the same or similar disability here that understands. And it's been really meaningful to the students.
It seems like in the college situation and the university format, it seems like it would be just so beneficial just to have even one or two people on staff that would actually understand the students who came in with vision impairment or hearing impairment or things like that. But I think it would make all
Yeah.
the difference in the world, between success and maybe them having a hard time.
Right. And, a lot of these students express to me, we're doing great here, but we're going to graduate. And what about jobs? So,
Mhm.
being able to partner with the Career Development Center, and, we've got a meeting coming up just to talk about, hey, here are the ways blind students navigate with technology. Let's open up that discussion. How do you help them with job placement services? What are some unique needs of that population? And, that was an area my boss said I'd love to have more of a partnership with career development. That hasn't been something that we've gotten into, but it's just those conversations that happened organically with the students. They were able to be honest with me about those fears that they had about what do we do after we leave here.
That makes sense. Actually, we went down to Printing House for the Blind a couple of years ago to meet up with them. And I don't know if you've ever been there,
I
but
haven't.
the workplace is incredible there. Most of the people there are blind or low vision, and just the space and the people and the interactions. It was just an amazing experience for me as a sighted person. Go in there and say, this entire workplace functions like a seamless, smooth machine, even though everybody here has a vision impairment.
Mhm.
It was incredible, and they were so smart and so cool. I highly recommend anybody who has a chance to go down and visit with them to do that, because it was a life-changing experience for me.
Yeah, I'd really like to visit. I met with somebody on Zoom to talk about one of their Braille displays.
Hmm.
And he was telling me that he reads German Braille and English Braille, and I think he said French Braille. And I'm like, whoa. And he said, yeah,
Wow.
the alphabets are all similar. So a lot of those characters are the same. They're just accents and like the umlaut in German and all of that
Mhm.
that you have to learn. And like, that's just fascinating to me.
Oh, that I'm a language person. I love language, and that's just the coolest thing ever. I will have to look more
Yeah.
into that. So
Yeah, like I took
anyway.
Spanish. I took Spanish in high school and I thought it was something that wouldn't be accessible to me. But when he said that, I thought, well, I'm learning English. I'm learning Unified English Braille right now.
Mhm.
And I'll finish up. So I started March 2025. I should be finishing up probably March of this year. And I'm like, well, now that I've learned English Braille, I thought, well, maybe I could take some Spanish courses here at the university and,
Yeah.
be able to read in Braille because I thought, well, I can't see it anymore. Can I really learn it? But like that made me realize that that could be possible.
Yeah, why not? We actually do the eleVIVO platform in both English and Spanish. And we're looking at adding more languages as we develop. But there's Spanish is the second most spoken language in the country, so it's
Yeah.
probably best to have access to that too.
Yeah, one of my students, she's actually majoring in Spanish. She wants to be an interpreter, and She was able to take one of her Spanish finals last semester on her Braille display, taught herself the different characters she needed to learn in the Spanish alphabet and the different accents.
Oh,
So,
cool. That's
yeah,
awesome.
very
Very, very
cool.
cool. Well, Leighann, thank you so much for sharing your story and your perspective today. It's been an absolutely amazing conversation. I've had a ball.
Me
And
too.
thanks to everyone else for watching this episode of Thriving with Vision Loss. If this conversation resonated with you, please like, subscribe, and let us know in the comments what stood out to you. You'll find links in the description to explore eleVIVO's free 6-month trial. And we'll also have some additional resources down there. And remember, vision loss doesn't mean the loss of creativity, contribution, or possibilities. Until next time, keep thriving and have the best day ever.
Thanks for tuning into our series, Thriving with Vision Loss. If you would like to learn more about thriving with blindness or low vision, check out eleVIVO.com. If you have questions or would like to be featured in an upcoming episode of our Thriving with Vision Loss series, email Michelle B. at eleVIVO.com. Links are in the description. The white letters on the black background fade as Circles by Classless Act plays.
Make your way.